right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do my Bitcoin miner ranking update. So I'm going to update this for the month of February. This is where we go through all the publicly traded Bitcoin miners and rank them in order. Now, the order that they're ranked in is by production, Bitcoin production. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, and obviously this is only one way. We'll discuss this more as I get into the video, but for now, if you're new to the channel, please do us a favor and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if you enjoy this video, please smash the like button and feel free to drop a comment below. I know ranking these Bitcoin miners is extremely controversial, and everybody has their favorite miners, so please give me your thoughts below as to what you think. Let me know if you want to see the other different ways that I rank these, but right now this one is just based on their production, and this is one of the very important ones. And I will also go through the amount of Bitcoin that they're holding and their exahash rate that they're operating at as well. Those are some key core components. There are several very big Bitcoin miners that did not make the top of the list, and I will go through why that is and what's likely to happen in the future. Number 7 is CleanSpark. So CleanSpark, you can see in the month of February, they mined 276 Bitcoin. That leaves them 581 year to date. This is the number that I'm using to rank them. You can see their monthly production, but I like to use the year-to-date number because if any one month is an anomaly for a company, I don't want them to drop drastically down the list because of any one-off given event that is non-recurring. So this list is in ranked order by year-to-date. And I will tell you, this is number 7. Number 8 is not even close to this. And that's why I broke it off at number 7. 581 is number 7, and number 8 is hundreds less than this. So CleanSpark has 2.2 exahash operational as of the end of February, and they are holding 494 Bitcoin. So that is the lowest. I'm only going with those companies that actually reported accurate and timely information. There were 9 of those, and CleanSpark was in 9th place. They were in a distant last. They have not had a HODL strategy. So if you want to see more about that, I do an in-depth dive on CleanSpark and I discuss what they're doing. I do think they will HODL more Bitcoin on a going forward basis, but they are never going to be one of the Bitcoin miners that wants to hold 100% of all the Bitcoin that they mine. That is not their philosophy and it's not their strategy. Okay, so that's number 7. I will tell you 7, 6, and 5 are extremely close. It's a razor-tight race, particularly between 6 and 5. So let's take a look at number 6. Okay, number 6 is HUT. I have a column here, monthly update, yes or no, because this is critical to me. There are some Bitcoin miners that are up and running that have over 1 exahash, and they are not giving monthly updates. That is very important to me. I think they need to start giving monthly updates. You'll see that 12 or 13 of these companies are already doing that. So by not giving this information, they're almost withholding information as it relates to what their peers are doing. So it's very hard to make investment decisions on companies that are giving you less information than everybody else inside the industry. So some of them are very new companies, so we'll give them a minute to get up and running, but there's really no reason. If they don't know how many Bitcoin they mined in the month of February, then something's seriously wrong. So they need to let us know. Sometimes it's going to be good news, sometimes it's going to be bad news, but investors need information, and you'll see the other 13 companies are doing this, so these guys have to join the club. We will get to them later. So at number 6 is HUT. They mined 289 Bitcoin in the month of February. Now, everybody remember, February has 28 days in it, and that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's actually about 10% less than January. So everybody's numbers went down a little bit. In addition to that, those companies that have a lot of Bitcoin miners in extreme weather participated in curtailment programs to divert the energy to residential and commercial places that needed it. So February is a tough month. Maybe it's the toughest month of the year. So having said that, HUT mined 289 Bitcoin in the month of February and 597 year to date. So you can see this is very close. 581, 597. There's a little distance here, but like I said, 5, 6, and 7 are very close on the year to date. HUT is at 2.5 exahash. That's actually in 5th place out of all the miners. So although they're in 6th place in production, they're in 5th place out of the miners. 100% of HUT's mining is in Canada, so it's all in extreme weather, which helps them most of the year. However, in January and February, those are months that they participate in curtailment programs. So, HUT, as much as anybody, suffered in February from sharing electricity. Okay, here's where Hut thrives. 6,115 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. These are all self-mined. They were the original hodlers. They have the third most Bitcoin on their balance sheet of any publicly traded Bitcoin mining company, and they're all self-mined. So I will say this was number one for them for the last several years up until about 2 months ago. So there's some companies that have been scaling up huge and finally caught up to Hut 8, but this leaves them with an extremely strong balance sheet for a company their size. So they are number 3 in Bitcoin hodling. They are number 5 in exahash, and they're number 6 on our list. Okay, let's go to number 5 on the list. Number 5 is Bitfarms. So you'll see Bitfarms mined 298 Bitcoin in the month of February. That gets them to 599 Bitcoin year to date. So you'll see how close. This is razor close. They have 599. Hut 8 has 597. I mean, that's a virtual statistical tie. But we have to go with the numbers. So at this time, they mined more during the month, and that put them at more year to date. So currently they are number 5 on the list. If we look at their exahash, at February 28th, it was 2.3. That leaves them at number 6. Hut actually has a little bit more exahash currently. So they are number 6 on exahash. They have 4,883 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. That's very strong. That's number 5 out of all the Bitcoin miners. Now they did buy, I believe, 1,000 of those they bought. So the rest are self-mined. So again, very strong balance sheet. Number 5 overall on Bitcoin held, number 6 overall on exahash, and number 5 overall on our list. Okay, coming in at number 4 is Hive Blockchain. So Hive Blockchain mines Ethereum as well as Bitcoin. So what they do is they convert their numbers into Bitcoin equivalent so we can compare apples to apples. So if we look at Hive, they mined 377 Bitcoin in the month of February. So that's a pretty big jump up from the 3 we just talked about, which were extremely close to each other. That leaves them year to date with 802 Bitcoin equivalent mined. Now remember, that's a big piece of that is in Ethereum. Not quite half, but they mine a lot of Bitcoin and they mine a lot of Ethereum. So these are translated into Bitcoin equivalents. So they did the Bitcoin equivalents of 802 Bitcoin so far in the year 2022. So that leaves them as at number 4. In exahash, they are at 2.84, so that is also number 4 out of all the Bitcoin miners. And you can see it's a little bit of a jump up. That's a half an exahash more than the group below them. And again, I want to remind everybody, these numbers are going to change drastically throughout this year. They changed drastically throughout last year, but they were all on a very small scale. You know, a lot of which were starting at 0 or much less than 1 exahash. So a lot of these worked their way from much less than 1 exahash up to 1 or 2 exahash, and now you can see 2 or 3 exahash. But what's coming in 2022 is going to be like a tidal wave compared to that. Okay, so the hodl position for them is 4,004, and that number I had to estimate and basically convert their Ethereum to Bitcoin equivalent, so approximately 4,000. They have a hodl strategy, so they have a strong balance sheet as well. And that is the number 6 overall position in hodling, leaving Hive as our number 4 company. Okay, coming in at number 3 is Marathon. Marathon mined 360 Bitcoin in February. So you'll see they actually mined less than Hive did in February. Hive did 377. However, on a year-to-date basis, they're at 822. February was not a good month for Marathon. I did a detailed video on that, a deep dive. So if you want to check that out, you can see what's going on with Marathon and why their numbers are where they are at. But still, year to date, this leaves them in 3rd place, and their exahash is 3.8. So now we've got a pretty big jump up. That's almost 1 full exahash up from the number 4 position. That leaves them in 3rd place overall in exahash. And their Bitcoin on their balance sheet is at 8,956. Now, they bought about half of those. The amount that are self-mined is about half that, but with the ones that they bought about a year ago, that leaves them with the most Bitcoin on their balance sheet out of all the Bitcoin miners. However, their basis in those Bitcoin is a little higher because, like I said, they bought about half of them. So that leaves Marathon as number 3. Okay, number 2 is Riot Blockchain. Riot mined 436 Bitcoin in February, so you can see that's a big jump from the number 3 position. They also have 3.9 exahash active at the end of February, so that is the number 2 out of all the Bitcoin miners. So you can see Marathon was just 0.1 exahash behind them, but that leaves Riot as number 2, and Riot has 5,783 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and I believe those are all self-mined. So that leaves them in 4th place, but again, that's a very strong number. So Riot has a very strong balance sheet. Okay, that leaves one more, and then it leaves 10 more after that. So I'm going to talk about the other 10 after we do the number 1 reveal, and we'll talk about what's going on with it. Okay, so coming in at number 1 is Core Scientific. Now, I know a lot of you aren't going to like that, and there's a lot of you that feel this is maybe not the best Bitcoin miner. So this list is not who's the best Bitcoin miner. This list is a statistical list of who's mining the most Bitcoin. So you can see it is not even close. Core Scientific mined 981 Bitcoin in the month of February. That put them over 2,000 at 2,058 Bitcoin mined year to date. That is more than double 2nd place. So this is not close. At the moment, Core's is way out ahead. If you look at their exahash, it's 8.2 exahash. That's more than double 2nd place. They have 7,355 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I believe those are all self-mined. That is 2nd place. They're likely to take over 1st place soon because they're mining so much more Bitcoin than everybody else, and they are holding the vast majority. I expect this top 7 list to grow to a top 10 list when there's 10 companies that are doing enough business to be comparative. Right now, everyone else is doing so much less actual mining than these 7 that these 7 stand alone. But there are companies that have plans and purchase orders and deposits on machines that will put them on this list if they're able to execute. There's actually a few companies with purchase orders enough to get them potentially up to 1st or 2nd on this list within the next year if they can execute their plan. So obviously we know execution is a huge variable in all of this. There's a lot of things that can get in the way of a plan, so just having a purchase order for Bitcoin mining machines is not the same as having them up and running. Like I said, I expect this to be a very dynamic list throughout the year, and with a lot of companies jumping up onto this list, some companies dropping off of this list. So let's look at the other 10 companies. Okay, these are the other 10 companies, and I'm just going to show you all at once. I just want to talk in general about this. There's a few things that stand out for me. Cypher started mining in February, so it's not fair. There's no comparison. They hadn't started mining yet. So obviously their numbers are 0 at that point. I put not applicable on their ranking because it's not fair to rank them in last. They haven't started yet. Same thing with Wolf. Wolf put out a press release in March that they have now started mining Bitcoin. So obviously their ranking in February would not be relevant. They had not yet begun doing what they're doing. So these are 2 companies I expect to see climb up the list quite a bit, but they're just getting started. So that's why, if these are your favorite companies, that's why they're not in the top 7 right now. I think you can expect both of these to make a run at the top 7 this year. The next 2 companies are DMG Blockchain and DigiHost. I'm invested in DigiHost, so I'm not knocking these miners. It's just that they are so much smaller than all the rest of the miners, and even their going forward plans are so much less than all the other miners that it puts them in a different category. So I'm ranking them 14th and 15th. And like I said, you guys probably know a few other companies that are similar to this. The one thing I will say about DigiHost is they have been providing a monthly update for the better part of a year now. And so I like that about them. However, they're just not going to be able to scale up to be a Marathon or a Riot or a company of that magnitude. So again, that's not a judgment on whether they're investable. None of this is investment advice. Please remember, do your own due diligence. Then there's this group of 6 right here. 3 of these companies do not give us a monthly update. So for me, that is a big strike against them because there's no reason. You can see, based on going through their investor presentations and their website, I was able to ascertain roughly what their hash rate is. Some of Bit Digital's information is as much as 6 months old. That makes it very hard as an investor, particularly in an industry where you have so many options where you're getting almost real-time information. To be 3 to 6 months behind on your information, for me, that makes it a tough thing to invest in. So information is better than no information. Just let us know what you're doing. So that's basically the 17 Bitcoin miners that I follow. Let me know what you think of the list. What's your favorite Bitcoin miner? What do you think of my rankings? Please let me know, and thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.